World champions of baseball.
At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Los Angeles Angels. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi, preferred card of the New York Mets. By Verizon, the largest, most reliable 4G LTE network in America. By People's United Bank N.A., see what know-how can do for you. And by Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. Well, it all started in a small town down near Atlantic City, Millville, New Jersey, to be exact. Mike Trout, who now has the field named for him, was wearing #1 in those days. Well, Mike Trout is all grown up now. Two-time American League MVP. Makes his first ever regular season appearance at Citi Field. The best player in the game on display tonight. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, Keith Hernandez with you tonight as the Mets open a 3-game weekend series against the Angels, and the Angels bring with them Mike Trout. 5 full years in the major leagues, 2 MVPs, finished second the other 3 times, the acknowledged best player in the game. The only time he's ever played here was in the All-Star game in 2013.
Well, and those 5 All-Star games, he's gotten a hit in all those All-Star games, too. I am so excited about finally seeing Mike Trout play in person. His numbers are just off the charts. What strikes me, it's all the power. He's in the run production. It's his on-base percentage. He led the league in on-base percentage last year, .421. He did it 3 times over 400 on-base percentage. That, to me, tells me something. And he steals bases. Plus, 3 times he stole 30 bases or more. So I am just really looking forward to watching this young man play.
Now, Trout does not have a lot around him in the Angels lineup, particularly with Albert Pujols out of the lineup tonight with a slight hamstring injury. So if you're the Mets pitching staff, which has been greatly beleaguered, how do you go about pitching to this guy, or do you pitch to him?
Well, that's a great question. Terry Collins was asked that today. He said, I got a pretty good guy on the mound in Jacob deGrom. I want to see how he goes up against Trout. The problem with Trout is this. He has an amazing eye that Keith was talking about, but he also has incredible strength down in the strike zone. Jacob deGrom, when he was in Milwaukee his last start, he came out like gangbusters down in the strike zone. He's going to have to be careful there. If you're pitching for the New York Mets in this series, if you don't have to pitch to him, I would not.
Mets have lost 7 straight, and there's a lot on deGrom's shoulders tonight to try and get that turned around.
Well, you know, Jacob has had, 3 different games where he's left with the lead, but he certainly has not been the Jacob deGrom we know. He's striking out a lot of hitters, but he's not lasting later into the game. He's going to have to find that happy medium about being dominant, but also lasting later into a game.
The Angels, surprisingly, have gotten great starting pitching lately, and Ricky Nolasco was their opening day starter.
Well, Ricky Nolasco, Mets remember him when he was with the Miami Marlins. 24 starts against the Mets, but his ERA was 5 during that time.
So it's the Mets and Angels opening a series at Citi Field. First interleague series for the Mets as they try and get things righted at the start of a homestand. Mets and Angels, all the action coming your way on SNY. Agent of the game, Pat Cauley of Glendale, New York. Contact Pat at patcauley.com. By Spectrum. Hey, Mets fans, join America's fastest growing TV, internet, and voice provider. Get the Spectrum Triple Play today. And by New York Community Bank and the NYCB family of banks. Visit them at mynycb.com. This Sunday is a McDonald's Family Sunday. The Mets take on the Angels. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a pair of sunglasses presented by Coca-Cola. Plus, all kids 12 and under can run the bases after the game in the Mr. Met Dash, courtesy of Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sundays. Power Pitchers of the Week brought to you by East Coast Power and Gas. Jacob DeGrom starts the night 3 strikeouts behind Max Scherzer for the National League lead. DeGrom leads the league at 12.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. Mets and Angels. Mets opening a homestand, trying to snap a losing streak in the shadow of the Unisphere. First pitch is coming right up. Just makes it all look so easy.
Well, it's highlights.
Jacob DeGrom getting ready for his 9th start of the year as the Mets play their first interleague game of the season. There's the Angels lineup brought to you by Hyundai. No Albert Pujols. He's got a little bit of a hamstring. Expects to play tomorrow. So C.J. Cron is at first base and Luis Valbuena at third. And that is the lineup surrounding Trout, who hits third.
4 double-digit strikeout games for DeGrom in his Land Rover numbers. 32 and 23 record. 2.86 ERA in his career.
Cameron Maybin leads off against DeGrom. Maybin's been hot, 8 hits in his last 10 at bats. DeGrom's first pitch is outside and low, and we're underway. Maybin, the oft injured, talented center fielder for the Angels. And I mean oft injured.
Yeah.
Former first-round draft pick of the Tigers. We first saw him as a Marlin. He's been in the big league since he was 20 years old, and it seems every season he has gotten short-circuited by physical ailments. Last year and half a year in Detroit, he had .315 with a .383 on base percentage. So when he's on the field, he is a good player. DeGrom falls behind him 3-0 to start the night. Walks have been a bigger issue for DeGrom this year than in any prior season. 3.7 walks per 9 innings for Jake, which is far above his norm. And Maben is walked on 4 pitches to start the night, and Rene Rivera exhorting DeGrom as he throws the ball back to the mound.
And the Lexus defense for the Mets, and Curtis Granderson has been kind of anchored in center field. Conforto, he's not going anywhere out there in left. On the infield, Wilmer starting to get more playing time at third base. Walker, of course, kind of day off the final game. Rivera behind the plate.
There's Cole Calhoun hitting second in the order. Calhoun having a down year, hitting .219, hit .271 with 18 home runs last year. Maben a base stealing threat at first, and DeGrom checks in on him. Maben has 9 steals without being caught this year, tied for 3rd in the American League.
I'm always interested to see if the second hitter after the leadoff hitter walks on 4 pitches, will he swing at the first pitch? Not supposed to, right, Keith?
Depends on the individual, Ronnie.
Arguing already. It's early.
Maben takes off early. DeGrom steps off. Reyes tags him out, and that's the first out of the night. So a miscalculation by Cameron Maben, took off prematurely, and he is thrown out for the first out.
Did you see the bewilderment on the face of Mike Scioscia?
And when you were talking about whether Calhoun should take a pitch, I was thinking to myself, when you have Trout hitting third, what you want to be more sure of than anything else is not to lose the base runners you have. And then sure enough, Maben gets thrown out.
You know what was the great audio there in our replay? Listening to Rene Rivera and all the infielders saying step off, which is a signal to the pitcher that the man has left prematurely.
Calhoun takes curveball for a strike. DeGrom facing the Angels for the first time, but he's been very successful in interleague play. He should. His first ever start was in an interleague game against the Yankees here back in 2014. Backdoor curveball misses to Calhoun, 1-2. DeGrom has a lifetime ERA in interleague games of 2.16. That's over 10 starts. Remember, he lost that game 1-0 that debut. Chase Whitley was the opposing starter that day.
Good call, Gary.
I think it was his debut too. Reyes gets in front of the grounder from Calhoun, and that's the second out. So DeGrom has Mike Trout exactly where he wants him with the bases empty. Trout not only is the best player in the game, but he's playing better than he ever has. His OPS is close to 1,200. His career OPS is just under 1,000.
Did you tell me when you were a kid at Shea Stadium, if a great player came to your ballpark, I mean, great round of applause would happen for that player?
I was just talking with somebody about that a few minutes ago, and that's absolutely true. Mays and Aaron and Clemente, they all got big hands when they walked in the ballpark. Trout goes after the first pitch, and DeGrom keeps it away from him for strike 1.
Very rarely swings at the first pitch, by the way, out of the norm for Trout.
Trout has 4 home runs in his last 5 games after having some hamstring issues that short-circuited him last week. And DeGrom moves him back off the plate, 1-1.
You know, we tend to forget these players are human too, and when you're playing in your, backyard kind of, and you have a lot of folks at the game, you want to do well, even if you're the best player on the planet.
Now, make no mistake, Mike Trout grew up in South Jersey.
That's
he was a
right.
huge Phillies fan growing up. In fact, was at the games in the World Series in 2008 when the Phillies won it all. He was a senior in high school then. That's hit on the ground through the hole. Reyes couldn't get a good start going after that ball, and Trout has a 2-out hit. It's like Reyes got stuck in the mud.
There's got to be some Mets fans down there, though, Gary.
Well, apparently his high school coach was a big Mets fan, and Trout used to tease his high school coach all the time during those difficult finishes for the Mets in 07 and 08. I don't know what happened.
Slippery track, a little muddy. He doesn't use the steel cleats. Side swing, Keith.
Ball down in the strike zone. It was a slider, Ron. Not got away. Stayed right in. Took the first slider beautifully.
Trout has 8 steals in 9 tries. Recently became the youngest player ever to reach 150 homers and 150 stolen bases in a career. He was a shade younger than the previous record holder, Alex Rodriguez, who's in the building tonight.
That's right. Alex will be doing the game tomorrow.
In fact, A-Rod was in the ballpark in part to say hello to his childhood hero. That would be Senor Hernandez.
That's right.
Well, yes, thank you. I'm honored.
Luis Valbuena at the plate.
Listen to Alex and Kevin do the game last night in Kansas City. That was Alex's first time in the booth.
Well, I guess tomorrow will be his second time.
That's right. Kind of how it works. You got to keep doing those reps.
He's doing the Fox game tomorrow night with Joe Buck. I think he'll be sitting in our chairs. Here's the 1-1, and Valbuena singing through the fastball 1-2. We first saw Valbuena as a Cub, guy who's got a lot of power, pretty good third baseman. It's the first month this year with a hamstring injury.
Remember, he used to always get big hits against the Mets.
Playing Houston last year. Trout at first with 2 down. DeGrom ahead 1-2. Was talking about seeing Lucas Duda in years, having a chat with Mike Trout. Here's the 1-2 coming. The fastball misses away to Valbuena, 2-2.
I guess he didn't know the scouting report. Lucas doesn't talk to anybody. He got him to talk, though.
Look at this. They're like they're old friends.
He goes, he tried to jam me inside, then he threw that little slider. I was ready for it.
And Valbuena fouls away the changeup. Still 2-2. Rom early in his start in Milwaukee got into a great groove where he was able to pop his fastball. He was able to mix in his pitches. At one point retired 9 in a row, but then it got away from him in the middle innings. And I know that he has talked a lot about finding the consistency to be able to keep that stuff all the way through a start.
You know what's interesting? You know, he has had a couple of really good starts, but really it was only the Miami start down in Miami. I thought that he built his game to a beautiful crescendo after 7 innings. It's been kind of stops and starts despite all the strikeouts.
That game in Milwaukee, of course, he had a big lead. He was up 7-1, gave up a 2-run homer, left the game with a big lead, but the bullpen let it get away. 7th pitch of the at-bat to Valbuena, and the curveball got him. Side retired. First strikeout of the night for DeGrom. Puts an end to the top of the first. Trout is stranded. Mets come to bat against Ricky Nolasco in the bottom of the first. No score at Citi Field.
many changes. The one that stands out, Wilmer Flores seems to have supplanted T.J. Rivera as the hot hitting third baseman of the moment. And so Wilmer is in there tonight as the Mets face off against an old nemesis and Ricky Nolasco.
Toyota numbers 2-2 with a 4.34 ERA. You see 110 and 105 in his career, but only 10 wins in his last 2+ seasons.
Signed a 4-year, $49 million contract with the Twins. Got traded over to the Angels late last season in a deal for Hector Santiago.
Pelfrey, Nolasco, who else? Was it Phil Hughes that signed big contracts in Minnesota that one season, one off season?
Well, maybe Jose Barrios will make up for all of them.
Oh boy, he's been good the first two.
Yes. Michael Conforto just 1 for 14 in Arizona. That one was a home run in the Mets' last game there that got him off to a fast start. Conforto 5th in the National League with that .638 slugging percentage. 10 home runs through his first 116 at bats.
And Nolasco that you saw when he was with the Marlins struck out a lot of hitters. Had a good curveball to go with a cutter and a changeup and a fastball. He's sinking that fastball more now.
I remember when we used to see Nolasco regularly, you could tell if he was going to have a good day when he was getting his curveball.
That's right.
And now he doesn't throw his curveball much anymore.
And he always took forever to throw. He was one of those slow-paced guys on the mound.
Now 34 years old, back in Southern California where he grew up. And there's the curveball. 2-2 to Conforto. Those are his numbers against the Mets. First came up with the Marlins in 2006. Actually was originally drafted by the Cubs and traded to the Marlins in a deal for Juan Pierre. That's yanked foul.
What I remember about Ricky Nolasco when he was with the Marlins is that David Wright was always in the lineup. Wright used to wear him out.
David has 6 home runs against Nolasco. Now 34 years old. Actually his second stint in Southern California. He had a brief go with the Dodgers after the Marlins traded him there. Conforto bounces the sinker foul.
He pitched against the Mets in the 15 in the playoffs. I have to check that. I thought he was with the Dodgers.
I thought he was with the Twins then.
Maybe.
I think he was with the Dodgers earlier than that. 7th pitch coming to Conforto. And it's away. And a full count to Michael leading off. Jose Reyes hitting second, then Jay Bruce for the Mets in the opening inning.
Do you see anything different in Arizona, Keith, or just one of those series for Conforto?
He's starting to drop that back shoulder a little bit, Ron, and I like that.
He laces that one to left, and sliding but unable to make the catch is Cameron Maybin. Maybin looked like that ball fooled him a little bit as he went into that slide. It was behind him.
Oh, his feet slipped here. He just overran it.
Closing your eyes isn't going to help.
Well, you're always fearful a ball that height is going to get caught in the lights, but that did not. He just missed it.
I think it's a little too early for the lights to come into play as well.
And that ball was ripped. Good at bat by Conforto.
So the Mets have a leadoff man on. They're going to score a base hit for Conforto. Reyes takes a strike. Well, Jose Reyes has great numbers against Nolasco, hitting .340 against him with 4 home runs and 53 at bats. And he has happy memories about the Angels because it was in Anaheim that he hit his first major league home run back in 2003, a grand slam against
Jared Washburn.
Jared Washburn. That's right.
See, I'm telling you, if I spend another 20 years in the booth, I will have Mets trivia down.
By the way, Reyes is just 1 hit shy of 2,000 for his career. There are 7 active players with 2,000 hits, led by Ichiro Suzuki. And Reyes hoping to join that company tonight.
Well, the Angels have a player who's got 2,000 plus sitting on the bench, right? And Albert.
He's got some of the best numbers of all time. Also has 594 home runs. 86.
He's not even playing it. It's growing.
Update. On it quickly, Maldonado. And off the bag.
Oh, my.
And Reyes is safe. Well, the Angels looking like a team that is a little new to playing this game. Maben with a terrible base running play and then a poor outfield play, and now Chris Crone unable to get to the bag.
Oh, that is just horrible. That's an invisible base. Oh, man, I've not seen that.
They're going to score that a sacrifice and then an error on the first baseman, and Mike Scioscia must be wondering what he's watching.
I mean, what happened when he saw Reyes square around? He kind of started to come in, and on his way back, he never found the bag.
So the Mets with a prime scoring opportunity. Could have easily been 2 out and nobody on. Instead, the first 2 reach, and now Jay Bruce, the batter. And Jay takes a strike. Jay had a rough road trip, just 2 for 20 in Milwaukee and Arizona.
Swinging at a lot of bad pitches, a lot of bad breaking balls, curveballs from in the dirt, sliders from the left-handers in the dirt outside, off the strike zone.
As below the knees. Velasco wanted that call.
Cuzzy gave it the old oops.
How is it that we have Phil Cuzzy as the home plate umpire for the second time in less than a week?
It happened.
How does that happen?
It happened.
It's with a different crew than he was when we saw him in Milwaukee. Gary Cedarstrom, the crew chief, working at first base. Velasco throws the fastball by Bruce, 1-2.
Been pulling off a little bit, like everybody else. When you slump, you get out in front. He's a little bit pull happy right now.
Conforto at second, Reyes at first, and nobody out.
Ooh.
And Maldonado knocks it down. 2-2.
He's a big man, and we've seen a quick play to get that Reyes bunt, and now quick feet and a well-placed glove to make that stop.
Often see the ball caught in that part of the catcher's mitt, right down near the heel.
Well, the Coors Light Angel defense, of course, the big guy out in center field. We got some old National Leaguers. Gary mentioned Cameron Maben. On the infield, Danny Espinosa at second base, former National. Simmons, 2-time Gold Glover at short, former Bravo. And Martin Maldonado,
former Brewer, behind the plate. 2-2 to Bruce with 2 on. And Jay goes down swinging for the first out.
That's what you're talking about, right, Keith? That breaking pitch, change up there from Velasco.
You start chasing the bad pitches when you start too quick. Some timing issue, and just got to fight your way through it.
So 1 away now, Neil Walker. Walker had an 8-game hitting streak come to an end when he pinch hit and struck out on Wednesday. Nonetheless, he had a very good road trip, particularly in Milwaukee, where he just tore the cover off the ball.
Yeah, I would say he came out of it. He was coming out of it last homestand, but he just wore it out and used both gaps too from Mr. Walker.
And Terry Collins has made the point about Walker that he has had some of his best days this year after off days. And here he is after essentially 2 days off.
They even got a stat for that, huh?
I think there was more a feel thing than a stat. Maben with a long way to come toward the line gets there and squeezes this one for the second out. So the Mets, after getting the first 2 men on in fortunate fashion, now up in the same place with 2 out. Curtis Granderson, the batter.
Velasco's in good shape. It's the best shape I've seen him ever. He always had a weight issue.
Agreed, Keith. He looks great.
He's always packing a little extra.
When you get to be into your mid-30s, got to be a little more diligent.
Oh, when I was 35, I was in the best shape of my life. Couldn't get anybody out, but boy, I'm telling you, looked great in the bathing suit.
Reyes shoots one down the line. That's a fair ball. It hits off the sidewall in play. Conforto scores. Reyes will be waved home as the ball is loose. It did not get stuck. It's not a ground rule. Granderson's now in a rundown. 2 runs, though, score on the play. And now they're saying ground rule double. Wait a second.
That ball was not underneath anything.
The third base umpire the entire time was signaling that the ball was in play. That's Ben May. And then belatedly signaled ground rule double, in which case Reyes would have to go back to third. Now Terry Collins is going to come out and get an explanation about this.
Well, number one, well done, Curtis, right here.
He didn't even know where he hit it.
Let's see exactly where the ball is.
It's underneath the
It hits the
seat.
stool, but is it
It's
out of play? We'll have to see from the side.
I think it's underneath the stool or behind the tarp.
And then the towel got involved too.
Yeah.
And Terry, I guess, got a satisfactory explanation. But what made it strange was that the third base umpire, Ben May, gave the safe sign as if to say it was in play. And then Maben started pointing and saying it was out of play, but then fielded it because he thought it was in play.
What Maben should have done is once he raised his arms, he should not have touched the ball. Because how does May know where the ball was now?
So it goes as a ground rule double. 1 run scores. The Mets have a 1-0 lead. Reyes is on third, Granderson at second, and Wilmer Flores the batter. Wilmer's been swinging a hot bat since coming back from the disabled list. Yes, against lefties, but more and more against righties as well.
He's been using right center field against right-handers, Gary. We noticed he picked up on that on the last road trip.
Great time to do it here, huh, Keith? With 2 outs and 2 on.
Always 2-out RBIs.
Lays off the slider, 1-1. So here's the umpire, May. And he gives what looked like a safe sign, and then he changed it. Okay.
So he saw enough. I still think that Maben shouldn't have touched it.
1-1 to Flores, hitting .389 since coming off the disabled list. Almost just 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position this season. Reyes at third, Granderson at second. And slider in for a strike, 2-2. He runs this inning against Alaska will be unearned. The result of the C.J. Cron error, failing to find first base on Reyes's bunt. Two coming to Wilmer, and he lays off. 3-2. Lucas Duda would be next. Velasco, who has been hurt more by right-hand hitters than left-hand hitters this year, has first base open. We'll see how he attacks Flores on 3-2. Comes with another slider and is fouled off.
Well, we know what the book is here. 2 things working. One, the right-handed pitcher wants to use the breaking ball against Flores, and you have a base open. So you don't want to give in to Wilmer, who's a good fastball hitter.
And not only has Nolasco had more success against left-hand hitters this year, but Lucas Duda's been struggling. And he's the on-deck batter. Whereas Flores has thrived since coming back from the DL. It's been the other way around for Duda so far since his return.
After all these breaking balls, personally, if I wanted to pitch him careful, I would use a fastball neck high or around the numbers.
Up and in?
Yeah, up and in is a good pitch after all the breaking balls away.
7th pitch of the at-bat coming to Flores. And he pulls one on the ground down to third. Valbuena picks it clean and throws him out. And the Mets settle for 1 unearned run in the bottom of the first. 1-0 Mets after 1. To you by T-Mobile. Terrible break, no pun intended, for the Atlanta Braves. Freddie Freeman, fractured left wrist, out at least 10 weeks. He was off to an unbelievable start. Andrelton Simmons, Freeman's former teammate in Atlanta, leads off for the Angels in the second. Simmons, the two-time Gold Glover, got off to a good start with the bat this year, but he's cooled down significantly. At 281 last year, 240 so far this year. And this one off the end of the bat foul.
If you want to know anything about SunTrust Ballpark, the new one in Atlanta, it was proven how the ball's going to fly last night, Gary, right?
5'8" Marcus Stroman, the Toronto pitcher, who's claimed he had never hit an opposite field home run even in batting practice, did one in the game.
Jeez.
1-2 to Simmons, and DeGrom just missed inside.
Boy, I like that pitch. We haven't seen enough of that from the starting pitchers. 0-2, shove something inside on these hitters.
C.J. Cron on deck, then Martin Maldonado. And Simmons flies one to the left. Conforto back. And that's the first out. Now C.J. Cron, whose error at first base led to the Mets' run in the first inning. Cron, a former first-round pick out of the University of Utah, who's never quite lived up to that billing. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Cron just got back a few days ago from a couple of weeks on the disabled list with a bruised foot. The hope was for the Angels that Albert Pujols would be able to play first base tonight. He's only played 2 games there this year, but he hurt his hamstring in the Angels' last game. Had an MRI today. They said it's not a big deal, but bad enough to keep him out tonight. That's pulled through the hole, a base hit for Cron. So C.J. Cron, a 1-out single.
So the last hitter, Simmons, 0-2, he went inside, but off the plate. This one caught a lot of the plate, and Cron was ready.
And like most hitters today, Ron, we and I were talking about low ball hitters today, even right-hand hitters. The ball was knee high, but I just think that pitchers can start throwing upstairs a lot more.
Do you think hitters are more low ball hitters because of all the tee work that they do?
Well, that soft toss too from the coaches,
Yeah.
when they sit down right, right across from you. It's always a knee-high pitch when you have to drop your back shoulder to hit a low ball. I mean, it's the closest thing to a golf swing.
Martin Maldonado takes a strike.
Sorry, Gary. For the high pitch, you got to square up your shoulders, man. You can't have the tilt.
But isn't it also about intent? Now that you have hitters saying that they want to hit more fly balls,
Right.
don't you have to be more of a low ball hitter?
It makes you a better breaking ball hitter too.
And Maldonado takes a fastball, and for the third straight hitter, DeGrom gets ahead 0-2. Danny Espinosa. Beard, but not the big beard. Waiting on deck.
He's got different levels.
We've seen him clean shaven. We've seen him with his Dallas Keuchel style beard. See that sun beaming off the buildings out in center field. 0-2 to Maldonado, and the slider off the plate. Maldonado came over in a trade from the Brewers for the catcher Jet Bandy, who we saw last week in Milwaukee. Bandy a little younger.
You guys had a lot of fun with that. His last name, very nice.
Yes. He had a tough time scoring on that double off the wall from second.
And I had to go to see the Times crossword puzzle.
63 across?
I did.
It was right there.
I didn't have it either until you gave it to me.
Glad to help. Strike 3 called. Maldonado caught looking at the fastball. And there's the second strikeout for DeGrom. Well, with the 2 tonight, Jacob DeGrom now 1 behind Max Scherzer for the National League strikeout lead. We'll keep you up to date. Now Danny Espinosa, who recently broke out of an 0 for 36 monstrosity, hitting 152 for the year, but you know about his power. He's a guy that you have to keep the ball up to.
Yes, he's a down hitter also, and it sounds like a criticism, but to me, he's got kind of a one-plane swing, Keith. And if you hit that arc, he can hit it a mile.
As a switch hitter, he was a high ball hitter right-handed and a low ball hitter left-handed. And I mean, literally, that's all he could hit. That was the one zone. If I was him, that would be the zone I would look into. And I'd look down left-handed, and I'd try to take upstairs, and vice versa on the other side.
Espinosa hit 24 home runs last year for the Nats, but he hit just 209, playing most of the shortstop for Washington last year. Came over for a couple of minor leaguers in the offseason. Back to Southern California, where he's from, went to Long Beach State. Crone at first and 2 out. DeGrom behind 2-0 with the pitcher on deck. And there's a strike.
Long line of great shortstops in Long Beach State, from Tulowitzki to Espinosa and others.
It worked out fine for Espinosa going to the Angels because his dad has been a longtime Angels season ticket holder.
That is great.
Rivera setting up inside. And Espinosa with a half swing, and he went around. 2-2. And May with a call down at third.
This was a good pitch.
Yeah, he could have called it on the plate.
Would had a lot of plate.
I think because he must have thought that was down.
I was thinking of the perks you get as a season ticket holder, a garden gnome, or your son getting traded over to the team. I think that's a good one, the second one.
Maybe you get to meet the second baseman. 2-2 coming, and he fouls back the fastball. You see the Espinosa full beard out on the center field scoreboard.
Yes, he
does it. That was in max beard mode.
That's a healthy beard.
It's for the Williamsburg part of our audience.
And DeGrom gets him with the changeup to end the inning. Third strikeout for Jacob. Angels with 1 hit leave 1. 1-0 Mets in the second. answer Mets trivia. Just follow SNY on Twitter during the 5th inning of tonight's game for details on how to win the SNY 5th inning sweepstakes presented by your local Ford dealers. Lucas Duda leads off the home second against Ricky Nolasco and takes the curveball outside. Lucas in 6 games since coming off the disabled list, 3 for 17.
It's been a struggle for Lucas. A lot of swings and misses. And it's too bad too, because he was really, I liked the way he was swinging the bat in April before he got hurt.
He was being aggressive, swinging early in counts.
Absolutely.
Hitting the ball hard.
That's right. Nice crowd here on a Friday night.
Well, it's a summer-like night.
Yes.
Won't last long, but it's nice to get the preview of summer. It's supposed to cool down tomorrow.
Really?
For the next week. Rene Rivera could not be hotter. He's on deck. And 4-pitch walk to Duda to start the 2nd inning. So the Mets get the leadoff man on for the 2nd straight inning. SNY Super Slow Motion is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Rough beginning to this game for Cameron Maybin on the bases and in the field. Meanwhile, Ricky Nolasco, who is one of the best control pitchers in baseball year after year, didn't come close to Duda on those 4 pitches, and now faces Rivera, who's riding the best hot streak of his career. 10-game hitting streak for Rene, hitting .410 over the 10 games. And Elias gave us a great note on Rene Rivera today, just detailing how unlikely this hot streak is for him. His career batting average before this 10-game hitting streak began was .213. If you go back to 1900 and look at players with 1,000 or more at bats, there are only 2 other instances of a player having a career batting average that low and then starting a double-digit hitting streak. Interestingly enough, one of the other 2 was also a Mets catcher, a great catcher, Jerry Grody, who was hitting .210 in his career when he had a double-digit hitting streak in 1968. The other was an infielder named Hector Torres with the '75 Padres. Keith, I'm sure, has played in Stratomatic at some point. Good breaking ball by Nolasco, 0-2, 1-2, but it just gives you the idea that in the course of a baseball season, anything's possible for a short stretch of time.
I mean, when I think of catchers, is there any better catcher than April John Buck?
Right.
For the Mets?
Oh man, what an April that was, and then what a May.
Duda at first and nobody out. DeGrom, who's also been red hot with the bat, on deck. It's funny, the Mets' 2 hottest hitters coming into this game, and they're 8 and 9 hitters. In fact, DeGrom coming into the night had the highest batting average of any of the Mets starters.
That's right.
Higher than Conforto. 2-2 coming. That's on the outside corner. So Rivera caught looking. 2nd strikeout from Nolasco. 1 out in the 2nd.
Good movement here. Started, kind of came back on the inside corner, outside corner. Oh yes.
So 1 out and 1 on. And now let's see if DeGrom's asked to bunt, or in deference to his hot bat, whether he'll swing away. 4-game hitting streak. He's 6 for 10 in those 4 games. And the last 5 times that he's swung at the first pitch, he's gotten a hit. But he is asked to bunt, and pops up said bunt beyond the reach of Maldonado.
Well, after the first inning, I am bunting the ball to C.J. Cron and make him field it.
Would you rather have cover first base?
I'd rather have him it the other way and let him dance around that base.
See, you're always 1 step ahead of me.
Great minds, Keith.
Yes. Well, third baseman Valbuena real aggressively in.
I've always liked this overhead here on a bunt play. Who cares about looking at the pitcher bunt it? Let's look at the fielders. That's how the play evolves. It develops right in front of you.
It's even a nicer shot with the sunbeams on the infield.
How do they do that?
Nice job by the grounds crew. I have no idea.
Gotta find out.
That's a Steve Gelb story.
Yeah, come on, Gelb.
In waiting right there. And Duda went back in standing and almost paid for it.
They've got that play going down, Ronnie, that we had.
Yeah.
You know, watch him kind of. He didn't really go in though, but he's getting a good break from Crone from first base when Velasco throws home.
I'm afraid Duda's going to turn his ankle going back in.
Well, Duda stepped on C.J. Crone's foot. He might not have gotten to the bag.
1-1 to DeGrom. Gets the bunt down. Crone fields it, and his throw on target. 3-4 on the sacrifice for the second out. Third sacrifice of the year for DeGrom. And now Michael Conforto will come up with 2 out and a runner at second. Conforto had a sinking line drive to left field his first time up. Looked like Cameron Maben had a play on it, went into a slide, and then awkwardly did not catch it. Conforto got credit for a hit and wound up scoring the only run of this game. First pitch curveball, balloons outside. You guys were talking about the John Buck April 2013. He had 9 home runs and 25 RBIs in April, and then had 6 home runs the rest of the season. Fastball at the knees, 1-1 to Conforto.
As quick as his start was, as quick as it turned off in May that year, like a light switch. It just stopped.
It all worked out though, right? Didn't the Mets, they trade him?
He went to Toronto.
Traded him to Toronto in the Syndergaard deal.
That's right.
Actually, it was the Darno deal, but it turned into the Syndergaard deal. Actually, you know what it was? It was the Dickey deal.
That's right.
That's what it was initially. 2-1 to Conforto with Reyes on deck. He swings over that off-speed pitch. 2-2. It's that split change that Velasco throws.
Good sinking change right there too. Took a lot off of that pitch.
Ken, veteran pitcher, base open. You're not going to see a lot to hit. He might try to surprise him with a fastball in, but mostly breaking balls out of the strike zone.
There you go, Ron.
Strike 3 called. Caught him on the inside corner. And Velasco has his 3rd strikeout and gets around to lead off walk. After 2, Mets 1, Angels nothing. App. Get New York Mets home screen icons and app features, as well as game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcasts, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat today. Ricky Nolasco leads off in the third. Ricky Nolasco, plenty of experience swinging the bat from all his years in the National League. 377 at bats. Now remember, we told you he was drafted by the Cubs in 2006, playing against the Cubs in Miami. In his 5th major league at bat, Nolasco hit a home run against Sean Marshall. 372 at bats later, still his only home run.
Sean Marshall, left-handed reliever. Big hook.
Two and two to Nolasco. So that would have been at whatever they were calling it at the time, Joe Robbie Stadium. Pro Player. It had several other names along the way. Two coming, and he fouls it back. Cameron Maben on deck, and then Cole Calhoun for the Angels in the third.
First interleague game for both of these ball clubs.
And Nolasco goes around. 3 strikeouts in a row, 4 for the night for DeGrom. Well, tonight's a milestone for Terry Collins, his 1,012th game managed as a Mets skipper, which ties him with Davey Johnson for the most games ever managed for the Mets. There are 2 other active managers who are their current team's leader in games, and one of them is in the other dugout. That would be Mike Scioscia, who has over 2,700 games managing the Angels. The other one is Ned Yost in Kansas City. But it's a tremendous irony that Terry's tying game, tying the go ahead tomorrow, are against the Angels. Broken back grounder by Maben, and Walker throws him out because, you know, the Angels job, which he lost during the 1999 season, everybody thought would be Terry's last managerial job. And after a long time waiting for another opportunity, finally got a chance to manage the Mets, and I don't think anybody would have given you odds that he was going to be the longest tenured Met manager in history.
1999, his Angels lost 9 straight, and he kind of resigned. Joe Madden took over for him, and then next year Mike Scioscia was named the manager. And 3 years later, Mike Scioscia and the Angels had a ring. Had to have some impact on that team from the manager of the '99 team.
And you know, Terry worked in the Dodger organization and knew Mike Scioscia from the time he was a young player. Calhoun grounds one slowly. Duda ranges wide. DeGrom covers, and an easy inning for Jacob DeGrom as he sets down the Angels on 10 pitches. 1, 2, 3. Weak contact. 1-0 Mets in the third. Summer-like evening at Citi Field. Mets with a 1-0 lead as we go to the bottom of the third. Start of a homestand. Mets playing the Angels for 3 and the Padres for 3, and then after a brief trip to Pittsburgh, the Mets are right back home, so they're in a stretch where they're playing 13 of their next 16 at home and hoping to get well during this stretch.
You make hay at home while you can.
Jose Reyes dropped down a bunt his first time up. Would have been out at first, but C.J. Cron missed the bag, got charged with an error, and that led to an unearned run, the only run of the game. Jose swings over the slider, and it's 0-2. Well, not only are 13 of the 16 at home, but it's a somewhat lighter schedule. The Angels, by winning their last 4, are a game over 500, but the Padres are next, and they're languishing at the bottom of the National League West. And the Mets go to Pittsburgh. The Pirates are sitting in the basement in the National League Central.
You know what series I've been looking at on the schedule? It's 24 days until the Cubs come into town on June 12th. That's the time when you want to be starting to play your best baseball.
That's a little looper behind third, but Valbuena able to go back and get it, 1 away. Well, by June 12th, the hope is that the Mets pitching, in Sandy Alderson's words today, will have stabilized. By then, they might have Steven Matz back. They might have Seth Lugo back. They also should have Yoenis Cespedes back well before then.
And the guys that are here will start to pitch like they can.
That's the hope. I mean, that's, you know, Sandy had a lot of very interesting and pointed things to say in his talk with the media today, but the one thing he said is if we are going to be successful, in his words, the pitching has to perform at a higher level. And I think it sounds simple, but that's the truth.
Whenever you base your team on a certain talent level of your roster, and the pitching is supposed to have some of the biggest talent that you have on this roster, they've got to perform to that level.
Sandy was also asked a very interesting question about the injuries. He was asked, injuries aside, the team that you're actually putting on the field, do you think they've underperformed? And he basically said yes. He said the people, we expect more from the team that we're putting on the field. So he wasn't using injuries as an excuse. Andrelton Simmons perfectly positioned, throws out Bruce for the second out. Well, there are the numbers for the Mets starters this season, and other than the strikeouts, there's not anything good about them.
You know, when your team is based on starting pitching and it doesn't perform well, there's a collateral damage that echoes throughout your whole ball club. The most evident, of course, is the bullpen numbers, but also puts a lot of pressure on the offense to always play either catch up or how do we stay ahead.
Here's Neil Walker with 2 out, flied out his first time up. The amusing note from Sandy during his press conference today was when he was asked whether Ahmed Rosario or Dom Smith will be called up anytime soon. He said there are no plans to call either of them up unless they can pitch.
Right.
Curveball from Velasco. I think that's the first one he's thrown for a strike. 1-2 to Walker. We used to see him flip that slow curveball in there time after time back in his Marlins days.
The wind picking up.
And Walker strikes out on the high fastball, and Velasco has his first 1-2-3 inning. 4 strikeouts from Velasco. Mike Trout leads off for the Angels when they come up in the 4th. Comes from former Angels catcher Jeff Mathis, who said the first time he saw Mike Trout, he was 17 years old. He lent him a bat, and he started hitting bombs to right center. He said, "My bat never sounded like that." Well, here he is 8 years later. This was his first at bat tonight.
And the pitch sequence leads off fastball, threw it by him, down and in, up and in, fastball 1-1. Slider misses down and away. Another slider. He's right on it.
So Trout for the second straight at bat comes up with the bases empty against DeGrom. And comes up and in with the fastball. 0-1. Well, since 2012, which was his first full season in the major leagues, that's where Mike Trout ranks. First in OPS. 4 times he led the league in runs scored. Which
That's incredible.
You can't do that on your own, but it is incredible. It really speaks to his base running, which is another piece of his game.
It speaks to his on-base percentage too. He has a high average. His parents.
His dad, Jeff.
High average hitter. 306 lifetime hitter his first 5 years. And he walks. He's led the league in walks 1 year. This man is putting up numbers in his first 5 seasons, and he's 25 years of age. My goodness. Staggering.
You know, the guy he most often gets compared to, because they're about the same age and they're both so immensely talented, is Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
But whereas Harper was the #1 overall pick in the draft, and everybody knew 2 years before he was drafted that he was going to go with the #1 pick, Trout was the 25th overall pick in the draft in his year in 09. Didn't like that last call by Phil Cuzzy, and it's 2-2.
This guy knows the strike zone. That's why he didn't agree with Cuzzy's call.
He's already shown me some really good knowledge, like the way he takes bad breaking balls coming back in.
And he struck him out with the fastball. Strikeout number 5 for DeGrom as he gets Trout for the first out.
Well, that fastball away set up that entire at bat, because then he could come up and in. And if there is an Achilles heel, and it's a tiny one, it's that up and in to Mike Trout. He's a better down hitter.
He's gotten a little better at that over the last couple of years, but if you're going to attack him, that would be the place to go. Let's check in with Steve for more on Trout. Steve?
Well, Gary, at this point in his career, everybody's looking for a way to put Mike Trout's greatness into context. Who does he remind them of? And I spoke with some people in the Angels organization. They see him every day and wanted to get their comparisons. For one, GM Billy Epler, who spent his entire career prior in the Yankees organization, he compares Trout to Jeter, specifically the looseness with which both of them play the game. But Paul Sorrento, the assistant hitting coach, had a really interesting comparison for Mike Trout. Sorrento said he's like a carbon copy of Kirby Puckett to him. The way that the two of them were able to barrel up baseballs, and not just that, but both players had for Puckett and obviously have for Mike Trout an incredible ability to squeak out hits even when they're not feeling their best or they're not their best at the plate. So Kirby Puckett was the one guy for Sorrento that he said it's almost incredible to him when he watched them play on a daily basis how similar those two are.
2-1 to Valbuena, who keeps showing bunt and now fouls one back.
It's high praise right there. And
well, I think the inevitable comparison, because he plays center, because he has the power and the speed, is to a young Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the guy who first comes to mind for me when I look at Mike Trout.
the only thing he doesn't do is switch hit.
Yeah.
I think they're always trying to find someone a little more contemporary, because very few remember the great Mick's career.
Valbuena strikes out for the second time. That's 6 for DeGrom over the first 3 2/3. So he's got it working against this odd Angels lineup. I mean, you look at this team, especially without Pujols in the lineup, and other than Trout, there's just nobody who scares you, and yet they're right in the middle of the pack in the American League in runs scored. They've had a ton of come from behind wins, 5 walk-off wins already this year. They have been a very potent team in big spots. Line to center field, right at Granderson, and he picks it off to retire Andrelton Simmons and give DeGrom his second straight 1-2-3 inning. He's retired 8 straight. 1-0 Mets. 2-0 lead. They got an unearned run against Ricky Nolasco in the first. Wind blowing through, cold front coming. Curtis Granderson had a double to drive in the only Met run. Hit it down the left field line. Curtis reached an interesting milestone on Wednesday. He pinch hit in that game. It was his 500th game as a Met. He became only the third player ever to play 500 or more games for 2 different New York franchises. And the other 2 were more than 100 years ago. Wee Willie Keeler with the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Yankees, and the old Dolan with the Dodgers and the Giants.
Huh.
And now Granderson more than 100 years later with the Yankees and the Mets.
I mean, my first thought, I can't believe it didn't happen more.
Exactly.
But 500 is a lot of games.
You would have thought so. I mean,
Yeah.
New York had 3 teams for all those years, and they've had 2 teams since cc'S. Pulled into the shift. Cron with the diving stop. Nolasco trying to get there, and he got him. And C.J. Cron, whose error led to the only Met run, with a nice play there for the first out.
Well, he had plenty of backup too, because they were playing Curtis for the pull. The second baseman was behind him, but you know your reaction. That ball's 3 feet to your right. You got to go get it. Nice feed. Very nice feed. The old backhand, Gary.
He delayed, and then he took off. And well, I don't know if it's the delay. Nolasco really follows through, kind of spinning backwards to second base.
Wilmer Flores grounded out to third his first time up. So T.J. Rivera was holding down a regular job for about 3 weeks. Took a couple of overs. Wilmer's gotten hot, and now starting his 3rd straight game. Wilmer started against the left-hander Patrick Corbin on Wednesday, had 3 hits. And in there against the righty tonight. Breaks his bat, rolls one out to Simmons. And the overhand throw it too high, and Cron comes off the bag, and Wilmer's safe. Well, in all the years we saw Andrelton Simmons play for the Braves, I don't think we ever saw that happen. He was so great and robbed the Mets of so many hits when he wore an Atlanta uniform.
He always had the great arm, and he just unloads that one. Good hustle by Wilmer.
Second error of the night for the Angels. And for Simmons, his 5th error of the year. It's funny how things develop, right? When Simmons first came into the league, it was about the same time that Juan Lagares came into the league. And we got to watch the 2 of them make eye-popping play after eye-popping play. But their careers really haven't gone the way you would have hoped for either one of them over the subsequent 4 or 5 years.
Brave fans were furious when they traded Simmons to the Angels.
Well, it all comes down to being able to play both sides, right? They're outstanding defensive players, but they haven't hit enough.
By the way, I don't think Brave fans are that broken up anymore with Dansby Swanson now in that spot.
Turned the corner, didn't he?
Hit a home run tonight against the Nationals off Gio Gonzalez.
That's very interesting. Nolasco's been very careful with Lucas Duda, and sometimes that will happen when the one glaring bad stat from Nolasco is the home runs allowed.
13 home runs allowed, 2nd most in the American League coming into this start. Duda walked on 4 pitches his first time up. And the off-speed pitch in for a strike.
Takes a lot off of that changeup, 80 miles an hour.
It's the best changeup I've seen him have, and like Gary was saying before, I always think of him as his best pitch as his curveball. But every pitcher kind of evolves over time.
Duda pops one up. Wind blowing hard as Espinosa retreats. And stays with it for the out. 2 away.
Someone had to be reminded on the infield to cover second base. Simmons was sightseeing.
Oh, he's still thinking about that error.
Crone was pointing, yelling at him to go second base, second base.
How often does that happen, Keith, do you think, where a player makes a bad play in the field and then he kind of vapor locks it for the next play?
It can happen. It can happen for the next inning, and it can happen for a game. There are players that take out their offense out on the field, and it's something that you can't do. It's something that's very simple to correct. It's just a determination that, okay, if I can't help offensively, then I better really put my nose to the grindstone out there and put my glove in my hand.
All right, so let me ask you a question, which I think I know the answer to. Did it ever happen to you?
Did it ever happen to me?
Were your mind
Probably
wandered?
maybe when I was younger, you know, maybe. But I was always drilled by my father that the glove, he said, if you got a glove, he goes, it's going to be, the manager is going to be less apt to take you out of the lineup when you slump, because you're going to help in the field. And so I was drilled in that as a kid. So I don't remember, Gary, but I'm sure in my struggling days in the minor leagues when I was a teenager, I probably cost a few runs.
Rivera takes a strike, and it's 1-2. Well, there are the city probables for the remainder of the series. Alex Meyer will go tomorrow night against Zach Wheeler, and then Sunday Tommy Malone makes his 3rd start for the Mets against Jesse Chavez. It's really a no-name rotation for the Angels right now. Their best starter, Garrett Richards, out. Tyler Skaggs, talented young pitcher, out. Andrew Heaney, another talented young pitcher, out.
You know, we showed some of those numbers which are not good for the Mets starting pitching and pitching. Just the opposite since April 15th for this Angel team. ERA under 3.5.
Best in the American League over that stretch. Rivera pops one up in foul ground. Crone hoping for a play, but it's beyond his reach. And it really is shocking when you think about it, because all those guys you just mentioned out of the Angels rotation and their bullpen, they're probably their best 4 relievers are all on the disabled list. Houston Street, Cam Petrosian, Andrew Bailey, Mike Morin. I mean, Bud Norris, who we've seen as a starting pitcher, he's their closer right now.
8 for 9 save opportunities.
So, these guys getting a chance. I mean, J.C. Ramirez, remember him with the Phillies, relief pitcher? He's in their starting rotation right now. 1-2 coming, and Rivera grounds one down to 3rd. Valbuena goes the short way, and that retires the side. We're headed for the 5th in the big city. Buy Ford Now sales event is on. For huge savings, go to buyfordnow.com. We go to the 5th inning. Jacob deGrom has settled into a nice groove. He's retired 8 in a row, striking out 5 of the 8. We'll take on C.J. Cron leading off in the 5th inning. Cron has one of the 2 hits for the Angels. Singled into left field his first time up. My first year as a minor league broadcaster, I was in Durham, North Carolina.
Durham Bulls.
Durham Bulls were an A-ball team in the Carolina League. And the first baseman on that team was Chris Cron, CJ's dad. Popped up in the middle of the infield. Who's going to take it? And it's Flores coming up on the mound to get it.
Certainly wasn't Rivera's ball. He was running out there to the mound.
Now, Jake caught a foul pop-up in his last start. I thought maybe he was going to claim that one for his own.
He knows there's a little wind. He didn't want any part of it either. Nice job by Wilmer. You know, it's interesting. Earlier in the game, you called C.J. Cron Chris Cron.
I did.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, maybe I have it wrong. I was doing with C.J., but maybe they call him Chris.
Well, it is his name.
Yes, that's right.
Funny thing is that year in '86, when I saw Chris Cron play, he had 208 in A-ball. And he made it to the big leagues. And his son wound up being a first-round draft pick. Let's watch Wilmer climbing up on the mound.
You always got to be careful here. Oops. Now, folks, an old Wrigley Field, when they had the bullpens down the lines, you went back for a pop-up in the shallow right field. And you run over that mound. That was dangerous.
That's why I could never understand why they built Tal's Hill in Houston. It looked like an accident waiting to happen. Now they've finally taken it down.
Well, I'm glad they did.
Out to left field for Conforto.
Because we saw, you and I, Gary, one of the best catches I've ever seen in my life.
True. Carlos Beltran going up that hill in a
extra inning game.
17-inning game.
It was a phenomenal catch.
Saved the game.
Yes, it did.
Yep. So deGrom's now retired 10 straight. And he'll take on Danny Espinosa, whom he struck out his first time up. It's going to be nice to finally go back to Houston. We haven't been back there since the Astros moved to the American League. But we'll be there in September.
Perfect. September, getting your fall just in time for the pumpkins.
Those are oranges, Keith.
I don't make that trip. That's you and Keith got that trip.
Always Keith. Did you ever go to Houston?
I think it's part of the plea agreement, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, that came through my mind as soon as I asked. 0-2 to Espinosa.
You wouldn't want to pitch there. Let me put it that way. Short. That's like a Fenway left field.
And it's not as high.
Not as high. Oh boy.
Let me tell you something. However many home runs they hit in Houston this year, there'll be more in Atlanta. That place is crazy. Day-night doubleheader when we go there next month.
Well, you'll have your hands full with that Houston team.
Maybe in between doubleheaders, you can go into the bunk beds from the Atlanta.
Oh, with the aromatherapy?
The aromatherapy, and take a little nap.
If Steve can arrange that for us.
I'll text them, Gary. Lavender, right? Is what you like?
The lavender is very soothing.
deGrom has struck out 6 tonight. Make it 7 as he gets Espinosa for the second time. 11 in a row retired by deGrom. He's in a serious groove now. Halfway through at Citi Field, 1-0 New York. Jacob deGrom sacrificed his first time up. He leads off against Ricky Nolasco. And to go inside baseball, let's check in with Steve Gelb.
Well, Gary, one of the things we spoke about last year was how the pace of game initiatives really don't seem to be working all that well. And in fact, this year, they're going backwards even more so, something that Rob Manfred acknowledged publicly yesterday. Right now, time of a 9-inning game on average is 3 hours and 5 minutes. That's up 5 minutes from last year. Time in between individual pitches is up a full second. So where does the union, where does Major League Baseball go from here? Rob Manfred yesterday said that there are going to be some meetings now with the union as they try and work through this, figure out some better ideas this season. The one thing to keep in mind, though, is that after 1 year, Major League Baseball can unilaterally implement certain rule changes without the consent of the union. And last year, this past offseason, the union turned down some rules like a pitch clock or limiting the catcher going out to the mound that potentially could be, again, unilaterally implemented even if the union doesn't want them next year.
Rom gets under one to center. Trout easing back. Wow. Well, the problem with getting the union's approval, talking to Tony Clark during spring training when he came and spoke to the Mets, is that you've got a membership in the union that's split between pitchers and hitters.
That's
and
right.
Some rules affect pitchers and some affect hitters, so it's hard to get them to agree on anything.
Well, I think, you know, the competition committee is it's very diverse. It's a motley, a bunch of people from all over baseball, from John Smoltz, who's an announcer, to, of course, GMs, and Sandy Alderson is on that committee. You know, I don't know. It's a very difficult thing to do, because what I've seen since I've been in the booth, the more and more rules we write, the more difficult it is to even understand what they mean. And it takes 2 or 3 years before you even understand what the rule is all about and the ramifications of the rules.
I'll say this. 5 years ago, if you had said to me that baseball should institute a pitch clock, I would have laughed. Now, I'm starting to think it's a pretty good idea, because the game is just slowed to a crawl.
Well, I think what helps, though, is that they have a pitch clock in the minor leagues. And all of these things that they want to implement, they have minor league baseball to start the ball rolling to see if it works. And it works within the framework of this beautiful game.
I still feel that there are so many other things going on in the ballpark today that I wonder about the sincerity of them trying to speed up the game.
Well, Keith, part of the problem right now, I think you can make the argument, is that all of these rule changes that have been implemented to speed up the game, they really don't have any consequences if the players don't do them. So, you know, you can call them rule changes all you want, but personally, I think part of the issue is that, you know, they're more suggestions at this point. So any rules that you want to implement, you really need to have a penalty if they're not followed, no?
Well, if you have a pitch clock, it's very simple. If the clock runs out, it's a ball.
Yeah.
And that, you know, the rules they tried to implement 2 years ago about hitters stepping out, they tried to send letters to the offenders. Well, that's not going to change anything. And then they talked about perhaps having a $500 fine. Well, for these guys, it's not going to mean anything. What you have to do is you have to have consequences on the field, right? Hitter doesn't get in the box, it's a strike. Pitcher doesn't throw the ball, it's a ball. And then they'll do it. Outside ball 4, and Conforto's on with the 1-out walk. I mean, doesn't that make sense?
I mean, I was chuckling when they said about letters to the players, because I don't know if you know this. Keith knows this, of course, but the players get 200 letters to 500 letters a day, depending on what kind of player you are. And it's hard really to sift through to get to even through your fan mail at times, right? I mean,
yes, that was not one of my strengths.
There's Reyes, who's 0 for 1 on a sacrifice. But it does stand to reason that if the penalty for violating the pace of game rules is a game-related penalty, that it would be more likely that the players would get with the program.
Yeah, because they'll feel a responsibility to the game and their teammates.
Just wonder how Pedro Baez will function. Time for your 4th, 5th inning recap. Jacob deGrom has been wonderful so far and has kept his pitch count down to 65 pitches through 5 innings. He's retired 11 in a row, including a strikeout of Trout. Grounded to Espinosa. Gets the out at second. No relay. And that's the 2nd out. Gets forgotten sometimes what a really good fielder Danny Espinosa is.
Played the heck out of shortstop too.
I mean, they played him at second in Washington. When Ian Desmond was the shortstop, I thought he was the better shortstop then.
Well, he made that play, which is not an easy play. He made it look simple.
So 2-out Reyes at first, and here's Bruce, who's 0 for 2 today. His struggle's continuing. Jay pulls one under Cron's glove, but it comes right to Espinosa. Back to Cron for the 3-4-3 putout. That ends the inning. We're through 5 at Citi Field. Mets 1, Angels nothing. Sixth inning, Ricky Nolasco leads off against Jacob deGrom, who is in that catbird seat right now. He's retired 11 in a row. Struck out 6 of the 11, including Nolasco in the 3rd. 7 strikeouts for the night for Jake, who's already had 4 double-digit strikeout games this year. In fact, 4 of his last 6 starts. Often that's led to a high pitch count. Not so far tonight. 1-2 to Nolasco.
You know, the games of late, the starting pitchers have not gone deep enough into the game on both sides to have a pitcher's duel. Have one this evening.
Well, you know, it's been a dog's age since the Mets have had a starter get an out in the 7th inning. deGrom tried that in his last start and gave up a leadoff hit and came out.
deGrom's the last pitcher for the Mets, starting pitcher to go 7 innings.
Zach Wheeler also started the 7th inning but couldn't get an out in his last start. Nolasco down on strikes. That's 8 for deGrom, who's retired 12 in a row. Let's check in with the studio. Taylor Rooks has a game break brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealer. Did I mention the ball carries in Atlanta, Taylor? Wow. Poor Matt Kemp, though, left alone now in that Braves batting order. He and Freeman have been quite the 1-2 punch. Here's Cameron Maybin. Maybin drew a 4-pitch walk from DeGrom to start the game. The only walk DeGrom's given up tonight. Then he tried to steal second while DeGrom was still in his stretch, and Jacob threw him out. That's a big hop for Reyes. And he guns down Maybin, 2 out. And DeGrom making it look easy. That's 13 in a row. He's retired. Here's today's Verizon trivia question. He was the only player in Angels franchise history to have 200 hits in a season twice. You know this one.
I mean, I've got the obvious guy I'm thinking about, right?
Left-hand hitter,
Yeah.
outfielder.
Yep.
Or are you thinking about somebody else?
Yeah, I'm thinking used to be infielder for the Minnesota Twins early in his career.
Oh, okay. Did he have enough hits?
I don't know.
I would think it would be a leadoff guy or a problem. I know who you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Gary.
The one guy you're thinking of, his first hit in the major leagues was off Moi.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's a good one. So he gave up his first and Bond's second home run.
That's right. Oh, we reach deep enough. There'll be tons. Andre Dawson's 300th. We can go on and on.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Mike Trout would be next. DeGrom would love to face him leading off in the 7th, but he's behind on Calhoun 2-0. Calhoun's grounded out twice, and the breaking ball pulled into right for a base hit, and so for the first time tonight, Trout will come up with a man on. Let's go back to Trout's second at bat in the 4th inning.
Now this one is a good one for DeGrom. Fastball. Oh, it was a hanging slider. Got away with it. Another little slider. Fastball up and away. Fastball. Fastball upstairs. Right down the middle. I knew it had the heart, but he beat him upstairs with that. Pretty much stayed away.
You know, I was saying in between innings, this is the only problem when you let the Angels hang around, is that at some point this young man might come up with someone on base.
1 for 2 tonight. Singled into left his first time up. And first pitch slider on the corner. Nothing in 1. He has put up some unbelievable numbers in 5+ years in the big leagues. 181 career home runs at age 25.
129 runs.
Rivera setting up away. And Trout swings through the fastball, and it's 0-2. So far, the heat has sufficed for DeGrom against Trout. Gave up a hit on the breaking ball first time up, struck him out with a fastball second time up. Now ahead of him 0-2.
And he went up and in. Will he try that again?
Rivera moves away.
Oh.
Left the slider up, and Trout fouled it off. It was not where he intended it.
This was a spinner.
If pitchers didn't get away with mistakes, you'd never pitch or get anybody out.
If that ball had been belt high or mid thigh, that would have been a long bomb.
Oh, 2 came inside with the fastball. 1-2.
I'm in favor because I think that's his only small little hole of doubling up inside there. Come back with the same pitch.
One-two coming to Trout. Fly foul.
He's going after him.
There's no fear in 48. Never has been from day one in the major leagues.
Well, Gary Collins was asked about, do you pitch to Trout? He said, you know, Jacob deGrom's a pretty good pitcher. He's going to go right after him.
I'd still be very careful.
Luis Valbuena is the cleanup hitter. He's on deck. Calhoun, the tying run at first. Again, the 1-2. Slider off the plate, 2-2.
He takes those breaking balls really nice with good balance.
That's what I look at. Not fools. A lot of hitters jump or fly open. He's right there to hit. Slightly open stance.
Like a reset, reboot right there by Trout.
7th pitch of the at bat from DeGrom to Trout. Fouls off that fastball, keeping it away from him now.
Well, he was a strikeout guy, and early in his career, he struck out. He led the league in strikeouts. Yes, 184. That's, you can see the numbers coming down.
As the strikeouts came down, his walks went up. That's what changed in his game. Obviously, much better control of the strike zone than when he was 21 years old.
Now an old man of 25.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, the 2-2. In the dirt, it gets by Rivera, and that moves Calhoun down to second with the tying run. And now the question is, on 3-2 to Trout, do you give him intentional ball 4? And that's exactly what Terry Collins is going to do.
On a 3-2 count.
Yep. And he's not going to Dick Williams him.
Well, you know, I think I'm just talking as a guy from on the hill. With a 3-2 count, boy, I'd love my manager to trust me to try to get him to swing at something off the strike zone. But I guess if you're the manager, you're thinking he doesn't swing at balls.
And you can't let him beat you.
Yeah.
I think that's the bottom line consideration when Terry looks at this line. Maybe if Pujols is sitting cleanup, maybe you think differently.
But you can see both sides, though, Kenny, and the competitive aspect of it.
DeGrom has struck out Luis Valbuena twice tonight. First time the Angels have had a runner as far as second base. And a ground ball. Walker gets in front of it. And DeGrom works around some mild trouble in the 6th inning after retiring 13 in a row. Still 1-0 New York. Traffic moving not badly on a Friday evening. New York Mets baseball on SNY, brought to you by Old Dominion Freight Line. Visit odfl.com for more information. Neil Walker leads off the home sixth and takes a strike from Ricky Nolasco. Mets have managed only 2 hits against Nolasco. They both came in the first inning. Michael Conforto led off with a single, and then after an error prolonged the inning. Curtis Granderson doubled him home, and the Mets haven't had a hit since. Walker lifts the curveball to shallow left, coming on is Maben, but dropped for a base hit. A little dunker for Walker on the curveball from Nolasco, and the Mets have their 3rd hit of the night.
Well, your initial reaction is little backdoor breaking ball, kind of hanging, is I'll take it.
So the Mets have the leadoff man on for the 3rd time in 6 innings. And here's Granderson, who's driven in the only run. Double down the left field line in the 1st inning. They'll keep the 3rd baseman home, so the shortstop hole is wide open. Well, another good start for the Angels. This depleted rotation that's been the best in the American League since the middle of April. And here's Nolasco having not allowed an earned run tonight, working into the 6th inning.
Uh-oh, fraternizing. Needs to be a $100 fine. I always found it interesting in the makeup of this ballpark, Gary, that they would put the bullpens right next to each other. I didn't think that was a bad idea. I always thought there should be some canvas there so they can't do this.
That was Neil Ramirez on the Mets side. Who was that on the Angels side? Do you have any idea? Must have been somebody you played with at some point.
Kenyon Middleton. Blake Parker. Who are these men?
Granderson fouls him away. Well, most of the Angels bullpen are actually familiar names to the Mets. Jose Alvarez, who we saw with the Braves.
Yep.
Deolis Garcia, who came out of the Mets organization.
Yep.
Yosmiro Petit, also out of the Mets organization. Bud Norris, who we saw for years as a starter.
David Hernandez, who was with Arizona for a long time.
Philadelphia.
Yep.
3 infielders on the right side against Curtis, with Walker at first and nobody out. 2-2 from Nolasco. In the air to right center field, hit pretty well. Back goes Calhoun to the warning track, back at the wall to make the catch. And back to first goes Walker. Granderson making a bid, but Calhoun right up against the padding for the first out.
He picks up the wall real quick once he gets to the track and keeps his eye on the ball. Nicely done, nicely tracked.
Well, Trout gets all the headlines, but Cole Calhoun is an outstanding defensive player.
So 1 long out. And now here's Flores, who's 0 for 2, reached on a throwing error by Andrelton Simmons his last time up. Lays off the slider, ball 1. That's box score presented by Fidelis Care. Not much to look at. Granderson with the RBI double in the first. Only 3 hits so far, enough for Jacob deGrom, who will be taking the mound for the 7th, trying to do something a Met hasn't done in 3 weeks. Get an out in the 7th, a Met starter. Maldonado thought about throwing behind Walker, but held on to the ball. 2-0. Thirty-four-year-old Ricky Nolasco, his 25th career start against the Mets. And Wilmer foul tips the fastball, 2-1.
That's the 3rd swing that Wilmer's took where his top hand came off the bat. on the follow-through.
And now 3-1. If his hand's coming off the bat, does that mean that he's getting fooled? Or
No,
does that mean
I
he's
don't.
just not gripping the bat properly?
I think he needs some serious pine tar. You don't want that ever happening.
A few times Nolasco's been behind on the count tonight. Walker at first. And Flores hits one out to left center. Back in the gap goes Maben onto the warning track, and that's the second out. Walker tagging at first, trying to move up, and he makes it safely. Good base running by Walker to get a runner into scoring position with 2 out. 2 deep fly balls in a row against Nolasco, both coming up short. And now Lucas Duda will bat with a runner in scoring position. It'll be interesting to see how Nolasco handles this, because he's pitched pretty carefully to Duda tonight. He's got first base open. He got Rivera on deck, who's been hot, but different kind of hitter than Duda.
Well, Duda hasn't done a lot against Nolasco career-wise, and Rivera has not looked good in his first 2 at-bats against Ricky.
Infield, Espinoza, second base, way deep in the outfield, but not a real classic shift.
Simmons keeping very close to Walker so he can't get much of a lead off second. And the off-speed pitch misses for ball 1.
So you don't have to throw hard to get people out. Look at Nolasco's towing the slab and twirling a gem.
That's a Lynchy right there.
Towing the slab and hurling a gem. Ring Lardner will be over any moment.
We had our Ed Lynch, and you see the interview we had Eddie in on Sunday in Arizona, and that was Ed's line: toe the slab and twirl the gem.
He's one of my favorites.
And now Duda will be intentionally walked after a 2-0 count. They wave him to first base.
Breaking balls to Mr. Rivera so far.
So Rene, who started the day with a 10-game hitting streak, 0 for 2 tonight, took a call third strike in the second, grounded into a fielder's choice in the fourth. Walker and Duda, the base runners, with 2 out. Mets up 1-0 in the 6th. Facing the Angels at Citi Field for the first time since 2011, about a month before Mike Trout's major league debut. The last time these 2 teams met here. Big cut by Rivera on the slider, 0-1. Jose Alvarez, the former Atlanta Brave, first man up in the Angels bullpen. Nolasco about to throw his 99th pitch of the night. Threw exactly 106 innings in his last start against the Tigers last Saturday. And Rivera lines one, base hit. Walker around third, he's being waved home. Maben's throw to the plate is offline. Rene Rivera comes through with an RBI single, and it's 2-0 New York. 11-game hitting streak for Rene Rivera.
Well, he got him out the first 2 at-bats with breaking balls. I think he was looking for something, a little wrinkle here. That is a good pitch, down and away, and he went right down and got it. Kept that front shoulder in. Maben does not have a strong arm as it rolls in.
That was a perfect example of a great secondary lead there with 2 outs by Walker.
Well, Walker, who had a base running mishap in Milwaukee, a good trip around the bases there, tagging up on the fly ball and scoring on the base hit. And now DeGrom takes ball one. Jake is sacrificed and flied out, trying to add to a 2-0 lead. He's got 2 runs batted in this year. Still hitting over 300. And fouls back the fastball, 1-1. This is probably going to be Nolasco's last batter no matter what. You got the lefty up in the bullpen ready to face Conforto if DeGrom keeps the inning going. Splitter misses, 2-1. DeGrom has a 4-game hitting streak, which is 1 shy of the club record for pitchers. Last 5-game hitting streak for a Mets pitcher was Mike Hampton in 2000, his only year as a Met. And he rolls one down to first. Cron makes the play, and that retires the side. But the Mets tack on a run on Rene Rivera's 2-out RBI hit. 2-0 Mets as we go to the 7th. When the Rangers were off to a terrible start, going for their 10th in a row. They're still 7.5 behind Houston, even with the 9-game winning streak.
Mets will go to Arlington the beginning of June.
Andrelton Simmons leads off the 7th. Jacob deGrom trying to snap the long stretch of Mets starters, not getting it out in the 7th. He's at 84 pitches for the night, and Simmons takes a strike.
Now, as a starting pitcher, sometimes putting up a 0 are more important than others. So you see the shade bridge and the fans. You should be watching the gem by deGrom. This is a big time to put up a 0.
1-1 to Simmons, who hit the ball very hard his last time up. Lined out to Granderson in center field. 17 straight games. No Mets starter has gotten an out in the 7th, and now deGrom is having an issue with a finger.
Yeah, something wrong with his finger. He took his glove off immediately and is picking off the skin that must be from a blister, or at least just coming off his finger.
Now, it did look like it was on the side of his finger, not the fingertip. Does that make a difference, Ronnie?
Yeah, definitely can be troublesome. But no one from the bench is coming out.
I'm a bit surprised.
Ray Ramirez went to the top step, but I think deGrom waved him off.
They're like, have you seen our pitching lately? Stay out there and get 3 more outs at least.
Simmons takes a high strike, and it's 1-2. Well, we've talked so much about Mets starters not going deep into games. How about this one? This is the Mets' 40th game. Only once this year has a Mets starter thrown a pitch in the 8th inning. Once. Check swing foul. That was Robert Gazelman on April the 19th. He threw exactly one pitch in the 8th inning.
Listen, no one meant for this to happen, but you've protected these young guys into a state of mediocrity.
DeGrom ahead on Simmons, 1-2. And it's lined the other way. Fair ball going into the corner. Simmons on his way to second as it sticks in the corner for Bruce. And Simmons stands at second base with a leadoff double. And here we go again with the starter in the 7th inning.
Simmons has hit the ball hard all 3 times up.
Fastball down and away. Good spot. He's leaning right over that plate.
And now after the double, Terry Collins and the athletic trainer Ray Ramirez are striding out to the mound to look at DeGrom after he picked at that finger during the Simmons at bat.
Looks like he has it on, the ring finger of his right hand.
Well, they didn't have to wait long before Jake assured them he was okay. Paul Sewald will get to work in the Mets bullpen. He's becoming a more and more important member of that bullpen as the days go by. So now a runner at second with nobody out. C.J. Cron will step to the plate. Well, that run that the Mets got in the bottom of the 6th looks a lot bigger right this moment. Cron is 1 for 2 at a base hit back in the 2nd. And a first pitch curveball, and he held the swing in time, 1-0.
Well, the ring finger is right.
So how will that affect him most?
That's the guiding finger. So when the 3 main fingers, the thumb underneath the ball and the 2 fingers on top, this finger, the finger he's pointing to, is the one that sits on a seam and guides the ball to the plate. So yes, I can understand getting a blister there. Guys, really, you got 2 fingers that really throw the ball, right? Your first 2 fingers there, but these 2 fingers, the thumb and this finger here, guide the ball to the plate. So if that sits on the seam and rubs enough times, you will get a blister even on that finger, even though it's not the main one to use, main 2 to use.
And does that, how much is it going to affect how he then throws the ball when he throws his fastball?
I don't think it should affect throwing the baseball, but there might be pain as he throws the baseball if he's really wore that down, where you're now getting down underneath the first derma, getting past the skin.
Now he's behind on Cron, 3-0 with Martin Maldonado on deck. And that's outside, ball 4. So a 4-pitch walk to Cron after the double by Simmons, and now the tying runs are on base.
Well, fine. There goes Dan Warthen, and if I'm Mike Scioscia, I'm going to tell Mr. Pujols to get a bat and get loose.
Of course, Terry Collins' visit to the mound does not count as a visit because he brought the trainer with him. Josh Edgin gets up alongside Paul Sewald in the bullpen. We got Maldonado, a right-hand batter, then Espinosa, a switch hitter, and then the pitcher spot. And as Keith mentioned, Albert Pujols looms large in any pinch hitting scenario.
Keith, let me ask you a question. Although Maldonado coming into the game hitting .279, do you ever bunt with him in this situation when you have Albert Pujols on the bench?
I don't think so. Okay. With Espinosa in the 8-hole.
Okay.
I think you let him swing. I mean, you play for the tie at home and play for the win on the road. Should we explain that to the folks here?
Go ahead.
The bottom half of the order, you play for the tie because you're the hit in the bottom half of the order, the home team, to win. On the road, you don't have that luxury, so you always play for the win. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
All those years in the big leagues. Phew.
Maldonado's 0 for 2, and DeGrom misses away, ball 1. It's 5 straight out of the strike zone after the Simmons double.
What happens in this situation is that if you allow it to,
it becomes a hindrance. So it takes your mind off what you've been concentrating on this entire time. You got to shake it off.
Need a double play here. That would be what the doctor ordered.
We'll slide her away, have him try to pull it, get 2.
Oh no.
And now 6 straight out of the strike zone. He's looking more and more frustrated by the moment.
See how he's continuing to look at it, and you know that becomes, it just takes your mind off the task at hand.
Here's a strike. Two on, nobody out. 2-1 to Maldonado. And that misses badly, and now it's 3-1.
Well, what's alarming about these misses, and Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, is that he's missing by a lot.
And they're all in the same spot away. So obviously has lost that feel he had when he was on top of his game the first 6 innings.
I agree with you.
He started messing with the finger during the first at bat in this inning, and nothing's gone right since. 3-1 coming, and he hit him to put him aboard. Maldonado hit by the pitch. 6th time he's been hit this year. He's kind of specializes in that, and now the Angels have the bases loaded and nobody out. And can they afford to go any further with DeGrom?
You got to go get him.
I gotta go get him.
Nowhere close on the 2-1, 3-1 slider that hit Maldonado. I believe you got to go get him.
And
well, I don't know what report Dan Warthen just got from the bullpen, but apparently it was not a positive one in terms of anybody being ready.
Well, they've had plenty of time to throw. Terry's sticking with his guy. It's just
still messing with that finger.
I just think that he's, like Ronnie said, he lost his feel because this finger is bothering him.
So the base is loaded and nobody out. All of a sudden this has turned into a tightrope bat for DeGrom as he faces Espinosa, who's been up twice and struck out twice. But make a mistake to Espinosa could pay dearly. And Espinosa takes a big rip, 0-1. It's a slider, but it was down in his happy zone.
Yeah, it was.
Simmons at third, Cron at second, Maldonado at first with nobody out.
Did one of those check swings, 1, 2, 3. That's going to work perfectly.
It is not Pujols, it's Ben Revere out on deck to pinch hit. Speedy left-hand batter. And now DeGrom ahead 0-2.
Swinging on a bad one right there. Helping the pitcher out.
Here's Revere, former Philly. DeGrom ahead 0-2 on Espinosa. And Rivera gets enough of it to keep it close and keep Simmons at third.
Nice.
Interesting. Remember the day, if that ever happened, Keith, what would you do as a hitter? You would hold your hand up to the guy on third, stay right there. The ball hasn't gone far enough. No reaction there from Espinosa.
Now the 1-2. And again, Rivera goes down to get it. 2-2.
That slider he's throwing right now is flat. Doesn't have that kind of depth that you saw earlier in the game. It's kind of spinning up there. DeGrom's trying to get really Espinosa just out in front.
He's thrown him everything down at the knees or out of the strike zone during this at bat.
A high fastball works with Espinosa. He wants to hit a fastball. Just make sure it's not in the strike zone.
Rob at 102 pitches. His season high is 112. Through 107 his last start on Sunday in Milwaukee. Sailed through the first 6. Trouble in the 7th. 2-2 to Espinosa. Got him looking. Number 9 for DeGrom, and the first out for a Mets starter in the 7th inning in the last 18 games. And maybe a huge hurdle overcome.
Fastball in. Did it hit the corner? It's too close to take, Mr. Espinosa.
So Mike Scioscia is going to keep Albert Pujols in reserve in a potential game-breaking situation and bring up Revere. Tough man to double up in a bases-loaded 1-out situation.
Exactly.
Well, starting pitchers. We've been asked this question many times. You're going to ask more from your starting pitchers as you go along. I think Terry Collins is answering that question right now.
Ben Revere just 1 for 12 in his career against DeGrom. Bases loaded, 1 out. Infield at double play depth. And the first pitch curveball misses, ball 1.
This is one of those times, Keith, when you're out there, kind of a blood and guts time for a starting pitcher, right?
We've seen DeGrom do it many times.
Yes, we have.
And Revere lines one into center field. Reyes goes back and gets it on the bobble, and everybody gets back. Oh, Reyes playing patty cake, able to snag it for a big second out.
Well, he gets a good jump on this ball, and boy, oh boy, great recovery there.
Conforto had the one the other day that he bounced around and was able to catch, and now Reyes has it come back to him for a very important out.
Tremendous recovery there, Jose.
People always talk about, here's the runner on third, Simmons goes to tag up, thinks it's going to drop. People talk about speed as just an offensive weapon. It's also a defensive weapon.
So now DeGrom with a chance to get through it. Bases loaded, 2 out, and here's Cameron Maybin. And Maybin lifts one along the right field line. Over comes Bruce. Side retired. Some big-time pitching from DeGrom. A circus play by Reyes. The Angels have the bases loaded and nobody out, and they do not score. 7 scoreless for DeGrom. 2-0 New York. May 25th at Citi Field. Tickets are available in select seating areas on a first-come, first-served basis while supplies last. To purchase tickets, visit Mets.com/runs. Let's answer our Verizon trivia question. The only Angels player to have 200 hits in a season twice. I thought Garrett Anderson.
I thought Carew.
And it was Vladimir.
Oh, wow.
Well, he didn't walk.
No, he did not.
And a great player. Jose Alvarez in the game last year was #1 in appearances with 64, #1 with innings pitched and strikeouts.
Michael Conforto greets him with a long fly to left. Back goes Maybin, and it's out of here. Number 11 for Michael Conforto on the first pitch thrown by Jose Alvarez. Conforto keeps showing off his opposite field power. The Mets now lead 3-0.
Left-handers, Keith, not even a consideration anymore.
In 18 at-bats, that is his 3rd home run against left-handers. Jumping on the first flat slider on the outside corner. Well done. He's got some pop to the opposite field.
Well, we saw it his rookie season. He had 10 home runs his rookie year. 5 of the 10 were to left field. And if you look at the spray chart of his home runs over his career, they go line to line in almost even distribution. Now leads the club in home runs with 11 despite not beginning the season as a starting player. A Mets home run means $2,000, enough for No Kid Hungry to provide 20,000 meals courtesy of Citi. 11 home runs, 6 of the 11 to the opposite field this season.
Which is music to my ears. Remember, he got so pull happy last year. Now he has learned his lesson, got through his sophomore year. He's tearing it up.
Reyes 0 for 2 in a sacrifice and 1 bobbling catch, but he goes down swinging on the high changeup for the first out.
Well, here's a side swing, very little take back. Not an overswing. All you kids see that? Just a nice, easy, smooth swing. Let the wrists and the hands do the work. Really picture perfect.
By the way, DeGrom liked every bit of that. Okay, Bruce fouls one off. You know, DeGrom has 2 wins this year. No Met starter has more than 2. He's had 3 that the bullpen has let get away. Mets are playing their 40th game. They've had only 1 season where they've gone through 40 games without a starter having more than 2 wins. That was 1962. So perhaps that will not happen again. One and 2 to Bruce, is 0 for 3 tonight. Trey Blevins up in the Mets bullpen. You've got 2 left-hand hitters coming up in the next inning, but you also have Mike Trout. However, with Trout due to bat second in the inning, he cannot appear as the tying run. Bruce pops one up. Simmons waiting for it to come down. Plays with the wind, and that's the second out. By the way, we did that trivia question about Angels with 200 hits in the season.
Yeah.
The guy who had the most hits in a season for the Angels had 240, but he only had 1 200-hit season. That was Darren Erstad.
Is that the year he led off and had 100 RBI?
100 runs out of the leadoff spot.
Not bad for a punter.
The other guys who had 200 hits in a season for the Angels, other than Vladimir and Erstad, Garrett Anderson did it once. That's driven toward the gap in left center by Walker. Back goes Maybin onto the warning track, and he gets there to end the inning. The other 200-hit performer for the Angels, Alex Johnson. For him, great hitter back in the 60s. Michael Conforto taking another one the other way. Number 11 for Conforto to stretch the Mets lead 3-0 as we go to the 8th. SNY Mets game on the go on any device all season long with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just download the NBC Sports app or visit SNY.TV, your new home for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. There's People's United Bank bringing you tonight's starters. Good pitchers duel, but Jacob deGrom was better. First Mets starter in 18 games to go that deep. 7 scoreless innings for Jake tonight. And a chance for his 3rd win of the year. Jerry Blevins will take over in the 8th.
I love when Jerry Blevins comes into the game. I was listening to you guys on the road, and you have it factored in on how many games he's going to end up with. Just another game for Jerry. 25 out of 40 now.
Juan Lagares in the game for defense means he's on a pace for over 100 games this year. Well, you got Cole Calhoun leading off, and then Mike Trout, so it looks like Blevins is going to face Trout.
3-run lead, depending on this guy.
Perhaps influencing Terry's decision is that Trout is 0 for 2 against Blevins. Curveball strike to Calhoun, 1-2. Blevins tonight becomes the first Met pitcher ever to pitch in 25 of the team's first 40 games. The last major league pitcher to do it, another lefty, Steve Klein, in 2000 with the Expos. So it's been 17 years since a pitcher's been in 25 of his team's first 40 games. Curveball strikes out Calhoun, and the tag made by Rivera for the first out. And now Mike Trout. Looks at Mike when he was a high school player back in Millville.
A big kid then.
Well, that's back in his earlier days.
Travel team days.
2002, so he was what, about 11 there? Trout's 1 for 2 and an intentional walk tonight. So it's a good spot for Blevins to be able to face him with a 3-run lead and nobody on base. So he's come to bat tonight only once with anybody on. He wound up being intentionally walked in that at bat after a 3-2 count. And a check swing foul, and Blevins ahead 0-2.
Interesting. No panic. He's been down his last 2 at bats. 0-2, but you don't see any panic. You don't see any, body language like he's upset. He just continues to dig in.
2 straight fastballs, I think, with the curveball, throwing them 2 straight fastballs kind of fooled him, Ronnie.
And the fastball lined over Walker, a base hit for Trout, his 2nd of the night.
1 too many.
That was a P.
So the Angels have just their 5th hit. Trout has 2 of the 5.
Went right with it. Outside corner. Little below the belt. Rip City. He stands pretty close to that plate too.
For such a big man, a really short cut to the ball.
So now Luis Valbuena with a runner at first and 1 out. Let's check in with Steve.
You know, Gary, you can talk about the talent of Mike Trout all you want, but the way that he carries himself off the field, it's the way that a star truly should carry himself off of the field. Just to give an indication of how professional he was today. Doesn't come to Citi Field all that often, so held a media scrum for about 10 minutes before the game. Then when that was done, did a one-on-one interview with myself, then a one-on-one interview with Wayne Randazzo of WOR, before spending 10 minutes with Tom Verducci for MLB Network. And after he was done with all that, took his BP, and then I saw him spending multiple minutes in time signing autographs for kids, which apparently he does every day.
Well done.
And just one note in terms of signing autographs. There was clearly one kid who he had promised and didn't have time for, because I watched him run back in, find the kid in the stands, and call him out to throw him a baseball so that he could sign it when he was done with everything else.
It's great to hear. 1-1 to Valbuena. And he went around, and it's in the strike zone anyway, 1-2. You know, Tyler Kepner wrote a great piece on Trout today in the Times. Said the best player in the game. May not have the best brand in the game, may not sell the most jerseys in the game, but he just does everything the right way. And that's really all you can ask of any player. There's the 1-2 from Blevins, and Valbuena lays off the curve, 2-2.
He needs to play for a good California Angel team that's in postseason where he can get the spotlight.
They were in postseason in 2014, and you know they were swept by the Royals.
He did not have a good series.
1 for 12 in that series.
Had a home run leading off Game 3 in Kansas City. That's it. He's not the same player he was then, though. He's even better.
He is. I'm not sure if he's going to get a chance this year, but you hope that somewhere down the road he gets to be on that bigger October stage. 2-2 to Valbuena, and the curveball. He held the swing, and now it's 3-2. So this is a big pitch for Blevins. If Valbuena gets on, the Angels get the tying run to the plate. Right-hand hitter to follow. Paul Sewald ready in the bullpen. That's what the wave of the cap from Ricky Bonas means. Trout at first and 1 out. 3-2 to Valbuena. And he pops it foul, backing out of play. Among other things, the 7 scoreless innings for Jacob deGrom, a nice tonic for his ERA. Goes down from 4.07 to 3.56. But perhaps most importantly, it shortens up the Mets bullpen. 6 outs required. That seems like a luxury for this group. 3-2. Curveball struck him out. Second strikeout of the inning for Blevins. He's fanned both left-hand hitters, and now they're 2 away.
Well, breaking ball, he threw a couple that stayed inside of Valbuena. This one had a good break and ended up out of the strike zone away.
Well, Valbuena took around 2 of them that were tantalizing, but the third one was too much for him.
Now with the right-hand hitting Andrelton Simmons coming up, Blevins will exit. Paul Sewald will come in. Sewald, who's been used in bigger and bigger situations, comes in here in a 3-0 game in the 8th inning. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. Sewald in, 3-0 Mets in the 8th. We'll be right back to Citi Field. Andrelton Simmons takes a slider for a strike from Paul Sewald.
Well, the last 2 weeks in those 8 games, Paul Sewald's pitched a couple of innings twice, 3 1/3 once, but now asked for a different role here late in the ball game.
Simmons 1 for 3, double down the right field line. He drops down a bunt, a perfect one, and that'll be an infield hit, and it'll get the tying run to the plate. So Simmons could not have rolled it out there any better. Has his second hit of the night. And C.J. Cron will step to the plate as the tying run.
Perfect bunt. Can't lay this down any better.
So now Cron, who has singled and walked tonight, 1 for 2.
Cron doesn't have any home runs this year, but he's got a couple of seasons where he hit 16 home runs, so he's got some power.
16 last year in only 116 games. Trout at second, Simmons at first. Excellent speed on the bases for the Angels. The bunt single by Simmons, their 6th hit of the night. So now 2 out and 2 on, and Cron takes a borderline strike. Sewald's last outing was very impressive Tuesday night in Arizona. Faced 4 batters, retired them all, and struck out 3. Made great use of his slider in that outing. And the fastball for a strike, and it's 0-2 to Cron.
Oh, good movement on both those pitches. Started off the plate and drifted back over the outside corner.
To Cron. Sewald takes a look at Trout, but nobody covering.
Sewald decides to go back out with a fastball, make sure it's 4 or 5 inches outside. Cron, after taking the first pitch for a strike, has got to swing at a pitch if it's off the plate.
And he struck him out with a slider to end the inning. Sewald gets the job done in the top of the 8th. Still 3-0 New York.
From the majors, get an inside look at the pros and cons of calling up the Mets prize shortstop and why now might not be the right time. On Mets blog presented by Citi, featured on SNY.TV. Last of the 8th inning. Mets with a 3-0 lead. 23-year-old Keenan Middleton will take over the pitching for the Angels.
Well, Keenan was a starting pitcher and a high prospect throughout his minor league career, but they put him in the bullpen last year. So they felt like he was overthinking it and just said, throw it hard. And he's got great movement and a wipeout slider when he's going right. Trying to channel K-Rod again, maybe.
T.J. Rivera batting for the pitcher, hitting in the 5th spot of the order. T.J. has all of a sudden hit a little bit of a skid. Went 0 for 10 in the series in Arizona. Wilmer Flores on deck, and then Lucas Duda in the bottom of the 8th. Addison Reed is up in the Mets bullpen, getting ready for what may or may not be a save opportunity, depending what the Mets do here in the 8th. Up and in. Well, game's on Fox tomorrow, on Picks on Sunday, so our next SNY game will be Tuesday night when the Mets play the first of 3 against the Padres. 6 o'clock the coverage Tuesday night right here on SNY.
Hunter Renfroe, we have to.
The great right arm of Hunter Renfroe. You seen that guy throw?
Yes.
How about Alan Cordoba?
Yeah.
Rule 5 pick who had not played above rookie ball before this year.
Margot still in the big leagues?
Manuel Margot. Okay. Corey Spangenberg.
Have to do some prep, Gary. The Pods? Yes.
They have 3 Rule 5 guys on that team.
I don't have them at all this year. I don't go to San Diego, and I don't have the 3-game series here. How about that? So I don't have to prep.
But maybe you could help us out.
I'll text.
Thank you. They do have one legit star in that lineup, and that's Will Myers.
Yes.
3-2, and TJ pops one up in foul ground. Valbuena gives it a look, but that'll be out of play. And that takes us to the road ahead, presented by Buick. And as you can see from the pictograms there, no Keith against San Diego.
Yep.
Keith will be here Sunday for the final game of the series with the Angels, and then we don't see him again until the Friday night in Pittsburgh.
Yes, I'll be flying to Pittsburgh on Thursday.
It's a lot of national TV games this
isn't it?
little period.
Sure is, back to back.
I miss you guys. That's lined to left field by TJ, and that's down for a base hit. So Rivera with a pinch hit single to start the Mets in the bottom of the 8th. Snaps an 0 for 10.
Pitch is down. Everybody loves that low ball today, and he's a middle in hitter. TJ very quick inside.
So the Mets have their 6th hit of the night. And now Wilmer Flores, who's 0 for 3.
Ooh.
Slider for a strike from Middleton.
Nice little slider.
Well, we've seen first Nolasco and now Middleton. Every at bat Wilmer has come up against a right-hander tonight. He's seen a steady diet of sliders. And there's another. So as a hitter, Keith, if they're going to be persistent in throwing him sliders, what's the adjustment that he has to make?
Well, it depends on Wilmer. Are things speeding up for him? You just chase that slider. If you can't reach the outside corner, then I suggest moving up closer to the plate.
That one gets away. Wilmer is out, but down to second base goes Rivera with first base occupied and less than 2 out. The hitter cannot get to first base, but the pass ball on the strikeout moves Rivera along.
Oh, he just missed it. So I would move a little closer to the plate. If you can't cover, if you haven't got outside coverage, then you know, 1 inch can make all the difference in the world there. It's not a, you know, like you're moving in 5 inches.
Right. Here's Duda, who's walked twice, otherwise 0 for 1. Rivera at second and 1 out. And that gets away, and over to third goes Rivera.
Oh my goodness.
So Maldonado having a rough time. That ball bounced into the stands, so Rivera will stop at third. Actually, onto the screen.
Yeah. What in the heck is going on? Is this a cross-up?
Yeah, he's looking for a breaking ball, and the ball hit his kneecap.
You think?
No, I think he just missed it.
I think he just missed it.
That's 2 pass balls in a row charged to Maldonado. And that puts an run at third with 1 out. And the former catcher Mike Scioscia's got to be steaming about that.
Jeez, infield in. Wow.
Duda tries to stop the swing, but he went around. And it's 0-2. So Middleton is missing bats, but Maldonado is missing balls. And Duda tries to hold again.
He did.
This time he went around again.
Oh!
And Duda gives a withering stare down to Ben May, the third base umpire, but he strikes out for the second out.
Ronnie, what do you think?
I think you did, Keith. Watch it from this angle. That's a swing.
He swung.
Attempt.
Okay.
By the way, Martin Maldonado had not had a pass ball this season until this inning.
I mean, he's a very good catcher.
So here's Rivera, who drove in a run with a base hit in the 6th inning, extending his hitting streak to 11 games. 1 Rivera at third, 1 at the plate, and a strike to Rene. Juan Lagares is hitting 9th in the order. He's on deck.
Who knows how this kid is going to evolve over the course of the season. 23 years old, but he's got electric stuff.
Came out of junior college in Oregon. And he throws the fastball by Rivera, and it's 0-2. Coming up tonight, Geico Sports Night after the post game, all the Major League Baseball news, all the playoff stuff, and Bart Scott talking about the Jets. It's always entertaining. Geico Sports Night tonight after the post game. Ground ball to the right side. Espinosa flashes over and throws out Rene Rivera to end the inning. So the Angels survive a couple of pass balls, but we're going to the 9th. Addison Reed on to try and save it with the Mets up 3-0. save it for New York.
Well, the last time you saw Addison on the mound, he pitched the 9th and the 10th inning in that tie game in Arizona.
He had good stuff too.
It was 6 up and 6 down, 21 pitches in those 2 innings on Wednesday. He'll face the lower part of the Angels batting order. Martin Maldonado leads off in the top of the 9th. The Mets have had only 1 shutout victory this year. It came on opening day when they beat Atlanta 6-0 with Syndergaard starting. The Angels have been shut out twice this season.
Well, I'll tell you how much I know. I really thought this was the kind of baseball you were going to see out of the Mets at the beginning of these first 40 games during the season. That kind of effort by DeGrom, some timely hitting.
So Cliff Pennington out on deck to pinch hit, and then presumably Albert Pujols. Interesting that they would bat for Espinoza, but he's been struggling so mightily you can understand it. Last year the Mets had 13 shutouts, and at this point last year they had 4. But this team, which was expected to pitch so well, right at the bottom of the National League in staff ERA. But it's been solid tonight behind 7 innings from Jacob deGrom. Levens and Sewall combined for a scoreless 8th. That's driven out to center, but Lagares eases back and reaches up to grab it. 1 out.
Had it all the way.
Don't get to watch him as much as we did a few years ago, but he is still stylish out there.
Well, there's a case where defense keeps you in the big leagues.
That ball almost beat him, though, because it drifted back over his shoulder.
He had one like that he misjudged. Was it in Milwaukee last week?
I'm not.
Or was it here? It's one that beat him over the top, much like that recently. Anyway, here's Pennington, the former Oakland Athletic.
The only thing I find interesting about this move here is that with no one on, you bat for your second baseman Espinoza, but you didn't bat for him when the bases were loaded, when he had a chance to make a dent.
Yes, good call, Ron.
Well, there's Pujols still in the dugout. Jeffrey Marte is out on deck to pinch hit.
Makes me wonder if
do next.
Is he available?
Well, you know, when Mike Trout hurt his hamstring, they kept him sidelined for 4 straight days before they put him back out there. So maybe in this kind of game, Socha's saying, hey, let's give him a full day if he's got a tight hamstring playing tomorrow.
Pujols had an MRI done on that hamstring today and came out of it with the results indicating that he should be able to play in a day or 2. So 1-2 from Reed, and slider at the feet of Pennington. 2-2. Now back. Reed 4 saves and 5 opportunities this year. Back in the closer spot that he had for the first 2 weeks. Did not expect to have it back this quickly, but with the blood clot that has felled Jerry's Familia for the better part of the season, if not all of it, Reed pressed into service in the 9th inning again. 8th pitch of the at bat to Pennington, and a pop up. Reyes retreating. Lagares coming on, and Reyes puts it away. 2 out. So 2 out and nobody on. And now Jeffrey Marte will be the pinch hitter, with the Angels down to their final out. Marte is 2 for 3 as a pinch hitter this year. Reed over his last 2 appearances has retired 8 in a row. And Marte swings through the fastball, 0-1. Reed trying to save it for Jacob deGrom, who threw 7 scoreless innings tonight. A much needed respite for the Mets bullpen. And that's strike 2. And now the Angels are down to their final strike. One, two. Up and away. 2-2 to Marte. Marte keeps it going. Cameron Maybin would be next. Two coming. Check swing foul. Angels came in here a hot team, scoring 38 runs in their last 6 games, but the beleaguered Mets pitching staff has stepped up and shut them down for 8 2/3 tonight. 2-2 to Marte. Fly ball right field, easy for Jay Bruce, and the ball game is over. The Mets pitch their second shutout of the year as they put the brakes on a 7-game losing streak. Jacob deGrom front and center with 7 scoreless. Michael Conforto another home run, and the Mets start their homestand with a 3-0 win over the Angels.
Well, the big inning for deGrom was the 7th, when it looked like he had a problem with his pitching hand, a finger on his pitching hand. He loaded the bases but got out of that inning, and that was the reason for the Mets victory with some timely hitting, Keith.
And of course, the Granderson, who's been struggling, RBI double in the first. Rene Rivera continues to be productive, got an RBI single in the 6th. And folks, Michael Conforto, I think you're seeing a star rising here. A home run, his 11th home run of the year off a left-hander.
Here's the game summary presented by Tri-State Buick. Mets with their first shutout since opening day. Ricky Nolasco pitched well but took the loss. Addison Reed his 5th save for deGrom, who went 7 scoreless, allowed just 4 hits and struck out 9. So the Mets able to shake hands on the field for the first time in more than a week as they snap a 7-game losing streak and put an 0-6 road trip in their rearview mirror as they take the opener of this homestand. For every Mets win, the Mets organization is proud to contribute $2,500 to Northwell Health and the Cats Institute for Women's Health. For more information, visit northwell.edu/cats. This win brings the total contribution so far this season to $42,500. Mets win 3-0. More from Citi Field coming right up.